Hey everyone, just want to encourage you to find us on your listening platform and give us a rating. Anywhere you listen to that has a rating system, go on over and give us a rating and maybe leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. These ratings really do help. Thank you so much for listening. On to this week's episode.
Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Eddie Z.
Do you think Angela, what was her name from Murder, She Wrote? What was that chica's name?
Angela Lansbury.
Lansbury. You think she was a lesbian?
Unfortunately, she wasn't, but just like Cate Blanchett, I want her so bad on my team. Just want these MVPs.
According to Velma, lesbians make the best detectives. It's the one positive stereotype.
Oh my gosh, that is just... We can't top that. Guys, we're talking about the new HBO show, Velma, by Mindy Kaling, or featuring Mindy Kaling. We're going to get into it.
It is also by Mindy Kaling.
Oh, hey, Rolando's here.
Yeah. Hello, guys. I am back this week.
We missed you last week, Rolando. So nice to have you back. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Rolando.
And this is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
An original podcast
about unoriginality. Oh my gosh. Lesbians do make the best detectives. I mean, like, we're nosy. We love the chisme. And we like to get to the bottom of things. And we're also highly intelligent. I'm just stereotyping the shit out of us. But, I mean, hey, all positives, right? All positives.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, there's so few. I feel like there's so few lesbian stereotypes. Right?
Yeah, I suppose. Well, I mean, there's strong ones for very few of us, you know, like there's like, okay, butch queens love to drive in Jeeps, you know, like that stereotype, or like lesbians move in after a week or something.
That one is a notorious one. Everybody knows that one, right? That,
yes.
Like, the second date is a U-Haul.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the bad joke.
If it's a good date, you should bring your suitcase. Wait, tell me the bad joke. I want to hear.
Yeah, what's the bad joke?
I mean, this is the bad joke about the U-Haul thing. It's like, what does the lesbian bring on her second date? A U-Haul.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, pretty much.
So.
Yeah.
That is a joke.
But it's.
Which I don't support. By the way, just so it makes.
I mean, it's funny because it's true. So. We can laugh about these things. But, you know, if you think of like iconic lesbian characters of the 20th century, let's not take 21st century because there's a lot. 20th century, there's not a lot. And if there's any that you can think of that are like queer coded, I mean, Velma Dinkley does come to mind, right?
Right, which we spoke about when we did Scooby-Doo. Was it 2 years ago now?
It was 2 years ago. It was during the year of the pandemic when Scoob came out. So if you want to hear an in-depth like conversation on the Scooby-Doo franchise, and we had a guest on, you know, the host of a podcast named Scooby-Doo. Excuse me.
It's a pod.
We're gonna put the link in the show notes because it's a really good episode, and we dug in deep and we talked about all these different Scooby-Doo properties. So today we're not gonna do that. We're just really gonna focus on this new one, Velma, on HBO Max. That just came out. I think the showrunner is
Mindy
Edward.
Kaling. Oh,
showrunner.
Isn't she? She was for sure is a creator because I
remember
we saw her because we saw her at Comic-Con. And she was one of the developers. Okay, so.
Oh. Okay. Charlie Grandy, that's his name.
Yeah,
the creator is Charlie Grandy.
I actually have sound bites from the Comic-Con. From the Comic-Con recording. Maybe I'll throw them in when I should have listened to them before the episode.
And that was back in October. Did you guys see?
We saw the pilot episode back in October.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was going to do something on social media, but you get tired after Comic-Con, you know?
Yeah, it's exhausting, I'm sure.
Oh, so exhausting.
But, you know, it's funny because, like, as far back as I can remember, Velma has always been a lesbian. Like, growing up, I've just always recognized Velma as part of the community, or at least someone that I can relate to. And I don't know like where it started or in what property it is, or maybe the original cartoon was just so perfectly drawn and so perfectly, displayed that she's always kind of had this queer coded to like we knew, even though they couldn't come out and say it, we knew it. Cause like, what do we know about Velma from the show? I mean, we know she has short hair, she has glasses, she's blind
jinkies.
without her glasses. Yes, she says jinkies. She's the smartest, the most cynical. Like, oftentimes when people get scared, they often jump into her arms. So she's kind of like, the daddy of the group. Mm-hmm. And most famously, she knows what Daphne's moans sound like. Which is one of my favorite things. I'll share the link to that, too. There's an 8-second clip. I mean, how does she know what Daphne's moans sound like? Let's wonder here. So there's always just kind of been like these hints. And I think that as the Scooby-Doo franchise has been revisited and rebooted and all this stuff, they've explored that more and more because as time goes on, we can explore those things. Apparently, when the films were made with James Gunn and Linda Cardellini as Velma, they really, really wanted to make her a lesbian, like a flat-out lesbian, but the studio shut it down.
But they kind of did skirt around it.
They did, yeah.
There's like a scene where like her and Daphne are kind of really going out of their way to talk about it, right? Like they're saying it without saying it.
They are, yeah. And there's like a scene where she's singing a song and then like Daphne comes down the stairs, so it kind of like can intimate that she's singing about Daphne. But then in the second movie, the studio forced them to give her a boyfriend. So they like shut all of that down. And James Gunn like has come out and said like in his first draft of the screenplay, she was a straight out lesbian. So we're kind of like seeing it there, but in the last 20 years or so since those live action films come out, things have actually come out that we've simply addressed it. And now canonically, like this character of Velma is openly gay.
Is she gay or is she bi?
I think
we just know that she's
queer. Let's say that.
Right. Cause it was almost like right before October of last year. There was like a Scooby-Doo movie or something. It was something that came out that
Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that canonized at least Velma developing feelings for another female.
Yes.
And it became canon and stuff. And the question that Eddie and I had going into the panel for Velma was, wait a minute, that was developed before this was greenlit. So I wonder, like, do they know what's going to happen? It's like, how do they deal? Like, are they going to make Velma heterosexual, or are they also going to go about it some other way,
Yeah, no, that is a good question. And did they address that at all on your panel?
So they didn't want to reveal what they had in store for the sexual proclivities of the cast of the Friends of the Scooby-Doo gang, minus Scooby-Doo. That's so they acknowledged that yes, we know Velma has just had her first like on-screen romance with another female. That happened before ours was in development, but we do have surprises for you guys. That's kind of more or less how they left it for us.
Okay. All right. And we're going to get into those surprises in just a bit. So Velma was actually greenlit. I mean, if you know anything too, please jump in. But I think it was greenlit pretty recently, as far early as like either early last year or late 2021. So like this has been like really, like it's not been in the works for a long time now. Like they rushed this out. And we kind of know that Warner Brothers isn't in the best state right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
So this is all happening, I guess, as the merger is about to take place. So I know Mindy Kaling had said, she had just been developing this idea. They had a meeting with Warner Brothers Animation is what they had mentioned. And basically they just gave their pitch. Hey, we want to do like an adult-oriented Scooby-Doo thing. And the studio thought about it, and they came back, fine, you can't use Scooby-Doo. That's the one that's on the studio. I will, the show has gotten so much criticism from fans and critics about this, but that wasn't a decision made by Mindy Kaling or the creators. That was studio saying, you cannot use Scooby-Doo.
Which is, why would they say that, I wonder?
I'm assuming that's what keeps it, Scooby, like Mickey Mouse?
Yeah. Oh,
Like
I
you
see.
don't want to pervert that character because of the identity attached to it. So if you're going to like Daphne, they're humans, right? We all as humans make errors and stuff, and you could just chalk it up to that. But like to see Scooby-Doo like in some like if we did see Scooby-Doo like getting high or like being like I don't know sexually aggressive with like another female dog, right? Like it would just like it may hit different. So it would make sense why with the humans it's something that's a little more palatable. That's my guess. They didn't go into specifics. I will admit
That's
that.
interesting. But using like Mickey Mouse as an example, and then I'll get back on track. If there was like a Mickey Mouse and Friends kind of like origin story, but without Mickey Mouse, like would you want to watch that show? Like if it was just
Well,
Goofy
there
and
is.
Donald.
It was called Kingdom Hearts. Literally, Mickey Mouse doesn't show up in the entire first game. You see his silhouette at the end of the first game.
But he does appear.
Literally as a silhouette. He's
Just
literally you don't
just a silhouette.
just a silhouette. You don't see him. You don't hear him. You just see a silhouette for like a glimpse of it at the very end of the first game. And I remember feeling, I'm just like, I can't believe I played this whole game and Mickey Mouse didn't even show up.
But that's a game. That's not a television show. That's like a comedy. That's like also kind of like a kids coming of age.
But like, I feel like games are way more. They hit different than they're much more involved because like you're playing these characters, right? So I think it's even a harder sell on a game than it is for the TV show is a passive activity. When you're playing a game, like you're actually playing these characters and you're in a way like if you're feeling like you're interacting with these characters, even though you're not. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So
Even though
like it's way more immersive than like a movie or a TV show, right?
I could claim the opposite though. And saying that because it's so immersive that you're not thinking as much when you're sitting back and you're watching something, you're actually being more analytical and therefore you're like digesting it or on a deeper level.
I don't know. I might disagree with you on that because I think because of the immersion and stuff, it does allow you. And then once you put the game down, keep in mind you're not. It's very rare. I think the average player won't sit down and just like play a game for just hours on end. Yes, there are people that do that, but for the most part, people will play it in chunks. And that gives you time to just sit back and then reflect on what you just experienced or what you just saw, depending on the game and stuff. One of the things that come to mind here, and then we're getting a little off track, I know, but like, you know, The Last of Us is just, you know, it just got adapted by HBO Max, which is, you know, the company that's hosting Velma.
Yeah.
And even though they're like kind of taking these scenes like ripped out of the video game, there is a difference that you feel when you're playing the game because like you're these characters, you're experiencing this, you're experiencing the loss of your child to the apocalypse, as opposed to watching it. It hits different, right? I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm just saying there's difference, and that's why I think the Mickey Mouse thing for that example is just like, you know, they were. It wasn't until the second Kingdom Hearts you got to see Mickey Mouse and like, you know, he was so sanitized it was kind of corny. He was like the king and he was like, it wasn't like, you know, Goofy and Donald who were like kind of struggling with this powers that the Kingdom Hearts have brought upon them. What are we talking about?
We're talking about Velma. Well, so I guess it's just weird because it's like having a Harry Potter origin story without Harry Potter, or just like, you know, like the eponymous character that you kind of are there for or feel like ties and is the glue and brings everything together when that's missing.
Wasn't that the whole point of that prequel franchise, right? The Most Amazing Creatures, Fantastic Beasts, yeah. Well, that's a Harry Potter property, but like that is
Harry different Potter. Though. But that's different because these are all brand new characters within that world. But so these are the same exact characters minus the one person that like is kind of like the sauce of it all.
I would watch a like Hogwarts story that's taking place during Harry's years, but from like the point of view of like the regular
like
students.
Everyone else, like that TikTok.
Yes, that TikTok is so good.
So funny.
The one where it's a girl like watching the students come in. It's so fucking the students from the other schools, and she's like, it's just like, oh, I can't wait for Hogwarts, and then she's embarrassed, like the lack of anything. And I'm just like, I would watch that TV show.
A whole TikTok series or a TV show like that would be so good. Well, so it's an interesting thing, and I think that that's one of the criticisms that the show has. And like, you know, we're gonna get into the plot and everything of this, but like this show is getting like panned And I like wonder why. Like it's almost as if like people are taking out every negative emotion they have on this show.
Well, I think it's mostly they're taking it out on Mindy. So I've actually did a deep dive on these like criticisms on this show, which I kind of do want to get into a lot because I think a lot of them are unfair.
I do think so too. So let's talk a little bit about the plot. And then let's just dive right into all of these criticisms.
Yep.
So the series it's supposed to be an alternate universe. So in this world, Velma Dinkley is South Asian. And she is represented as a South Asian American, and like she has a father and this whole home life. She's a snarky teenage would-be detective. She's got a little crush on Fred Jones. So all the main characters that we know from Scooby-Doo, Fred Jones, Norville Rogers, which I like for a second I was like, wait a minute, is that Shaggy? Because I guess that's his real name.
It is Shaggy.
And Daphne Blake. They're all here. And they all go to school together.
And Daphne Blake is played by Constance Wu.
Yes.
Who I got to see in person. It was just like, I'm glad she did something with her hair because the hair that she had for that movie with J-Lo was just not it. That was a mistake.
Supposed to be not it.
It was the worst haircut I have ever seen on an actress ever.
Stop. You sure?
Oh my gosh.
It was so bad.
I-
Those bangs were just
Well,
unforgivable.
let's not even bring up Courtney Cox in Scream 2.
They were that level.
That was bad.
They were very similar.
So Velma's mother went missing years prior, and she has like this guilt about it, almost like a survivor's guilt, but also like, you know, she's blaming herself for being kind of involved with it. So she has these weird guilt-based hallucinations that happen every so often, kind of like Wednesday in the Wednesday show would constantly have these hallucinations that would like, I mean, different types of hallucinations, but she would just like get them randomly whenever she's like onto something or she's feeling something.
Yeah. And I feel like it's anytime she activates being a detective.
Right? Yeah.
Like doing any detective is the trigger for
for
these hallucinations where it's almost it's an anxiety attack where, you know, people who have had anxiety attacks, really bad ones, and you feel like you're going to die.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only thing that can, like, she's like so in her head, she just like, she can't get out of it. So like something drastic has to happen. Like somebody really needs to make her laugh or, you know, maybe give her a little kiss. So, but we won't get into that just yet. There's, like I said, there's Fred Jones. And in this show, he's just portrayed as a very popular and very vapid teenage boy who is spoiled and particularly dim-witted. And it's actually funny because this is one of the few times that the guy who has voiced Fred for like years has not voiced that character, but he voices the father. And I think they made like a joke about it. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. So the voice of Fred here is Glenn Howerton. He's from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I think, honestly, for this character they're trying to portray, that was kind of, in my opinion, smart casting. Yeah. Because he does have that energy that we know he can play that like entitled white man energy. And I think he does bring it and stuff. And yeah.
And he just portrays him as such a little loser who's actually also like late in puberty. Just so random. There is Norville Rogers, who is also no longer in this show white. I do believe that they've made him either Latino or black.
I think he's black.
I think he might be multi. I think his mom is white, or I think his father's white and his mother's black.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that, but yeah, he's played by Sam Richardson. So
from Hocus Pocus 2 and other stuff.
And I think we gotta go. I mean, you know, Constance Wu's playing Daphne. Now, Daphne is technically, she has already said that she's Asian, right? Yeah. Which she doesn't really look. I mean, I don't want to like, that sounds offensive, but they didn't animate her to look like present Asian because they had other Asian characters who look more Asian. So I thought like, what's up with that?
Like more East Asian.
No. Asian. Like the animation style. She looks. I mean, if you could say an animation style, she's white passing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is a little tough. But Daphne is very popular. She and Velma used to be best friends. They were like, they had matching necklaces that the other one had the other half of, and I guess. Oh yeah. Also, she's an adopted child, and her parents are she's raised by lesbians, voiced by two iconic lesbians, Jane Lynch and
Wanda Sykes.
Wanda Sykes. Thank you so much.
Jane Lynch is a lesbian?
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's a lesbian. Yeah, she's definitely lesbian. Yeah,
good for her.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I like having her. And let's just like kind of get to it, because as of when we were recording this, there's only 2 episodes up, right?
Yeah, when this goes out, there'll be a 3rd episode, but we recorded this before the 3rd episode.
We're a little okay. So everyone has all these like feelings, you know, like Velma has a harmless crush on Fred. Norville is in love with Velma. And he has like this like whole online life. Like he's like I don't know, he's a streamer or something.
Yeah, I think he's like a
blogger.
Like a vlogger, YouTuber. Yeah.
Snack reviews.
Yes. And and he hates drugs, but he's probably, all of his community followers are probably stoners.
Right. Which is a fun I mean, you know, the show is trying to be very meta.
Yes.
And so like they're, you know, him like literally looking at the camera saying it's just like, I don't like drugs. Obviously, because like the joke has always been that like
Shaggy's a stoner.
Shaggy were stoners.
Yeah.
You know, and so this is how they decided to shake things up, which I don't know. I don't dislike. I am a fan of Sam Richardson. Yeah. I think he is so lovable.
Oh, yeah.
No, and I think it carries in his voice acting. Like, that charm that he has just does carry over in his voice acting, despite the fact that it's not the Shaggy that I grew up with.
That's exactly. I think out of every single character, he is the most, like, he's the furthest away from his original incarnation. Which, sure, if I was a person who was looking forward to this show, then maybe I would be upset about that, because I'm like, I can't see anything that I personally love about Shaggy in this representation. More so like personality traits, like he hates drugs. You know, he's kind of like almost a little, he's like awkward in a different way. And he has this like complete obsessive love, not obsessive, but like almost there for Velma.
He's he's got that lovesick going on for her.
Yeah. Very one-sided, so.
Yes, it's not reciprocated, right?
Yeah. Whereas like the Shaggy that we know, you know, he could care less about those things in the original films. He just wants to like be with his dog and like hang out in the Scooby van and eat and have snacks and stuff. So,
just a side note, I started watching
Mysteries Incorporated.
Mystery Incorporated. So, which they have Velma and Shaggy as boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
But they haven't told the rest of the crew about it. So they're like secretly dating. And one of the things Shaggy has is that he doesn't want to reveal their relationship. Like, he's the one that doesn't want to reveal their relationship because he doesn't know how Scooby's going to handle it.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute. Actually, you know what? I do think that there have been canonically other moments where Shaggy and Velma have been paired. Because, like, historically speaking, Fred and Daphne usually are.
Right.
So it's like, oh, well, of course, you know, 2 guys, 2 girls are all going to get together at some point.
Yeah, the 2 hot ones always, like, end up together, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And speaking of Daphne, they changed it up. She's actually not really someone who has feelings for Fred in this series. She has complicated feelings for Velma. And the second episode...
Wasn't she dating Fred?
She is. I think they're like social dating.
Yeah, like kind of like that high school thing. It's just like, you're prom king, I'm prom queen.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
That makes sense. But yes, you're right. She has it by the end of 2nd episode. We find out that she has these complicated relationship, complicated feelings for Velma, which, surprise, surprise, Velma too has for Daphne.
Yes, and behind all of this, there's a serial killer who's killing girls and like cutting open their brains and stuff. It's like weird. So there's like actual like mystery that's going on here. Which, you know, it's like very unlike Scooby-Doo in that sense, where it's always just like a ghost or something, and then it's like somebody who's, you know, just like having their fun on the side. But there's some hardcore murders going on. So that's basically the premise and the characters of the show. And the show is getting panned, like we said.
Panned by the fan base. Critically, I think it's like mixed. Like some of the reviews I have read kind of have praised it. Some have also bashed it, and I think it's just really, it's subjective in terms of like, what are you looking for in a show? When we covered Wednesday, I admitted like I do love myself a teen drama, and this is really trying to swerve into that kind of, specifically Riverdale-esque kind of show, while still being like, adult oriented. You mentioned the word edgelord in one of the previous episodes before. You taught me what that term meant.
Yes.
And stuff, like Rick and Morty, like Rick
can
be like an edgelord.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of more, they're kind of doing that, but like in a girlish, like as a female, they're trying to make that with Velma, which is what's rubbing people, I think, the wrong way. But from what I did it, like I said, I did a deep dive on, like, I'm like, yo, why is this show getting so much hate? And a lot of it comes from both sides of the aisle, right? Like the conservative feel that this show is racist because of its portrayal of Fred as like the only white character, right? So they're accusing Mindy Kaling of being straight up racist, and stuff. Which I'm just like, I tried to stomach this YouTuber just like trying to rip apart, trying to stomach these YouTubers just shitting on the show is, I feel like I need a bath afterwards, because like all their complaints just stem from this, oh my god, I'm feeling victimized as a white person. It just is most of these critiques, right? And I'm not saying that their feelings are invalid, but kinda a little bit, I think.
So you think that when it's like against a white person, it's not racist, right?
It's not that it's not racist. I just think it's just like, it's not. Fred isn't the only character that's getting made fun of.
He's not. No.
You know what I mean? It's not. So if it was literally just all like we're constantly shitting on white people, then I could be like, all right, fine. I can see as a white person why this might be offensive to you. But this is like kind of equal opportunity here. Yeah. And that's where the next set of critiques that I was like really diving into comes from. They come from the South Asian community, who are really, really having a huge backlash against Mindy Kaling, where the main critique I'm seeing is that they're arguing that Mindy Kaling is kind of now one note. And she kind of has like self-hatred for her background as a South Asian and stuff. That argument, I am not going to. I understand where they're coming from, because if you have you seen the show Never Have I Ever?
I've seen everyone compare it to this show. So tell me about this.
Well, Never Have I Ever is also by Mindy Kaling. It's written by Mindy Kaling, and Never Have I Ever stars. This is a story of a Indian girl in high school. She's kind of, an outcast, but she's also like very self-assured and stuff, and she wants to lose her virginity to the hot guy. Main critique from the show, from the South Asian community, is just like Mindy Kaling is always pairing up these South Asian characters with white men. She has like kind of like a white man savior obsession. Mindy, so the Mindy Project, for example, comes to mind. She tended to end up with white men. I don't know who she ended up with, but like her longest relationship on the show was Danny Zuko? No, that can't be.
Danny Zuko is from Greece.
Danny something, but he was a hot white guy, doctor, who was her opposite and stuff. And they were, I mean, he was so hot, so it's just like, how could you not? I get it. But common critique that comes from her. So same thing goes with Devi in this show, Never Have I Ever. She is like just obsessed. Her two love interests are white men.
Well, he's half Japanese.
That's white presenting men. Actually, now you, because we have also an Asian Daphne, so it's just like maybe these critiques from the South Asian community are wrong. But the other show that comes to, that people have also been calling out is The Secret Life of College Girls. I haven't seen this one, but I can't speak to it. But they're saying the same thing happens, where a lot of the jokes are very derivative of making fun of like South Asian culture and self-hating, self-loathing. And once again, she's being paired off with white men, the South Asian character. And Mindy Kaling, at least a lot of her main projects have been like kind of from the point of view of a South Asian character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the Mindy Project, Secret Life of College Girls, and Never Have I Ever, right? Like, these are very, very heavily, she has said that these are influenced based off of her life. And I think the problem that a lot of at least the South Asian communities having is just like they feel like the shows are one note, that they aren't giving like a fair representation of South Asian community. However, here's my counter argument to this. It's just like, how many South Asian writers do we know are out there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So it's not like, don't shit on Mindy Kaling. Like, she's telling her truth. It's her truth, and we might not like it, but it's still like, it's her experiences that she, as a writer, you can build off of. So it's like,
I mean, she's giving a very specific viewpoint. You know, it's not going to speak to everyone, but you know, what do we want her to do? Like, lie or tell someone else's story? You know, what do we want from like people who, at the end of the day, like a lot is falling on her shoulders. So she has like many different type of people that she has to appease. So I guess, I mean, I've read a lot of reviews and I actually kind of wanted to read some out loud.
Yeah.
So one is actually from Paste Magazine, which I think was pretty well written as to why it articulated what went wrong with the show.
Okay.
It says, what holds Velma back from being a notable entry to the Scooby-Doo library is the identity crisis it faces. The writing is constantly at war with itself, unable to decide whether it wants to be an absurdist satire of the horror genre or the show's source material, or play as a straightforward reinvention of the characters in a YA lens.
Okay,
And
I think that's fair.
And by tackling all of that, it sort of becomes like a sort of hodgepodge that never really connects. And I do think that's well written, and I do see what they're saying. I feel like it is trying to be more of like, I think it's, I actually completely agree with that. Like, but I think that the show...
You read that and I'm just like, I know, I get that sentiment. That's a very, very articulate way of putting something that I didn't necessarily have the right words to.
Yeah,
right?
no, thank God for film critics and television critics and all this stuff. So that's one review that I think is really, really well written. Now, here's one on Google. So this is a
like
public...
a fan review? Yeah, so this is like anyone can just...
Yes, but this person went in. So I'm only going to highlight certain things.
Okay.
But they gave it 1 star. And this is the top Google review. So if you want to read the whole thing, go for it. There's just nothing progressive about this show, let alone making any breaking ground or shattering glasses on anything other than to slap and insult the audience, even to those that the progressive stance of both Mindy and the show tries to appease to.
Pause. Already, like, this is coming off so slanted. Like, it's just like the it's like, yo, like... We
use progressive twice.
It's like as a society, like, we're so divisive that like everything has to have like a political slant. I do believe that some media has obviously political undertones, sure, but I don't know if like we need to, like, not everything does.
Yeah.
Right? Like, especially, and I think with comedy, it's so tricky because like we're in a world where comedy is like kind of, I don't want to say sanitized, right? Because I think that gives credence to a lot of critiques. It's just like, oh, you can't be what's it called? You have to be PC now. That's not the issue. I think you could still be funny without necessarily, without isolating an entire population of people, right? You don't have to be mocking towards like Dave Chappelle. But at the same time, though, if he wants to, it's his freedom of speech. He's allowed to, and there are consequences to his action. You know what I mean? So if people want, and that's the thing. If a small pocket of people complain about it, that's the thing. We have such a loud minority. Like, I mean, like, it's always like, it's such a loud vocal minority that gets amplified by the media. Dave Chappelle's stuff comes to mind because, like, let's be very real. It's a very, very small population of people who are very upset with Dave Chappelle for his anti-trans jokes. I think most people, the plurality of people, understand it's a comedy bit. Like, if you don't like it, you don't have to listen. You don't have to agree with him, and you are more than welcome to boycott him. But like, we can't be telling others what they can and cannot find funny. Do you know what I mean? It's such a
censorship
thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, censorship is really under attack in this country. So okay, so let's keep reading this review a little bit. Additionally, this is supposedly being done before the Scooby-Doo gang even is a thing, which means the characters here are very much underage. And to top it off, the show brazenly shows off multiple underage high schoolers in naked and showering scenes, which tend to suggest uncomfortable tones.
That was just that was one scene, and while they were doing it, they were literally trying to make a point about like how a lot of TV show pilots are over sexualized in the first episode, and then you would see that sexualization again. I thought it was. I actually, when I first saw that at Comic-Con, I actually thought that was funny. I thought it, because like Betty and Veronica do make out in the first episode of Riverdale, right? And then they never talk about that again.
Yeah.
We see like Archie getting it on with a high school teacher in the first episode, and he's like,
wow.
I think in the first episode, like Archie is shirtless, like majority of the show, like you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know, like yes, I think it was made to be uncomfortable, but I think that's the thing with animation, like it gives you the liberty to kind of be risque like that too. You know what I mean?
Yes, I
like
know.
You're not gonna you doing that with actual actors who are portraying underage people. That's when you start getting like, you know? Yeah. But they're actors portraying a certain age, right? But like in animation, because it's animation, I think we're supposed to be able to have that kind of layer, that kind of like glass between us, saying it's just like, but this isn't real. They're trying to make what's a commentary that they're trying to make here, and they were like very on the nose about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they weren't hiding like what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I also love how much this review is definitely inciting all of this out of you. You know, like I love everything you're saying.
Yeah, because it's just like a lot of the trash that I had to like listen to on YouTube about the hate the show was getting comes from this kind of place. It's just like you guys don't know what you guys are talking about. You guys are just mad because you guys want to be mad.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay, so go
on. So I'm skipping ahead to a little bit, but like they complain about the depictions of Daphne, of Fred, and obviously, Fred, who is the nice guy and sort of leader of the group that had a tendency of splitting teams and setting up traps, becomes a complete narcissist racist. And let's go a little further. Both Velma and Daphne keep their friendship, if you could really call that a friendship, and despite being in high school, they're drug dealers. Have fun trying to make that seem socially acceptable.
I'm sorry. Did we not all sell drugs at one point or another in our high school days? I know I should not say this, I guess, on the podcast. That I have to do that.
Velma as a drug dealer is hysterical.
It was. I thought those.
Get your drugs here, drugs. Get your drugs.
I thought, yeah, like it's supposed to be like it's a dumb show where they're like kind of amping up some of these situations to like 11. And again, as someone who watches I do love a good teen drama, like teens selling drugs, it's kind of a plot point usually, I think, on Riverdale. I think a whole season revolved around drug use and like selling drugs and trying to find like who's selling these drugs. So I don't and the other thing, wait, when was Freddy racist? I don't think Freddy was ever racist. He was narcissistic for sure, but I don't
definitely
think
was narcissistic. I mean, there's like that one moment where he's like, "Oh my God, people are seeing me talk to you," and like
but it
runs
wasn't
away
a race.
from Velma. That's the only moment I can think of that they're just misconstruing as racism.
It wasn't like he's classist at best. An elitist maybe, but like he wasn't. They never portrayed Freddy as.
Yeah, I do think that this person is confusing the fact that they feel like this is a racist portrayal of Fred.
He did make that comment when they were at the house, at Fred's house. At Fred's house when Velma's father took on the case as the lawyer, and he told, "Okay, but you're gonna help me out." So she's there with him, and he makes that comment like, before you started talking, I thought you were one of the help.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know if that
was that.
But it's not. You
Arrogance.
could see that as racist? No, classist.
And classist, too. Yeah, arrogant, classist, just...
It's one of my favorite jokes actually from the show Archer, where Mallory was accused of being racist by a black... he was a black, like a worker for like a train, and she was accused of being racist because of the way she talked to him. But as she said, it's like, I'm not racist. elitist maybe, but not a racist, right? And she wasn't talking down to him because he was black. She was talking down to him because he's a working class man. As I think that was more so what Fred was doing. Just the fact that she's brown, I don't know. I think he's painted. I think this character of Fred, his worldview is based off of popularity and like how much money you have.
Okay.
I mean? So
yeah. I'll buy that. All right, so they ended off with this. Just past the show, the attempts it tries to do with both humor and, quote, lessons and, quote, progressionism that's gone too far and too sharp to where it's just considered mindless zealotry and just let the show fade into the void and be forgotten. So it's interesting because this person sounds like they're fed up with, Hollywood's, quote unquote, like progressive takes on these remakes, reboots, and revivals. Because, hey, we come across it all the time. Where they're, trying to diversify and shake things up and like portray things a little bit different that, hit to a broader audience now. Do you think that people are tired of that? Because it sounds like the fact that they said progressive like a million times in this review is just shows that that's truly what they're angry at.
I mean, remember when we did Interview with a Vampire? How some people were like up in arms about... We have a black Louis. We have very, very openly... You took the gay subsect and just made it just context at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Yes, but aren't you and I kind of tired of it too sometimes?
I mean, it's kind of... I'm tired of the fact that I think Hollywood thinks it's an easy way to win me over. That's what I'm tired of. Yeah. I feel, like I'm getting pandered to. What I'm not tired of, though, is like, I'm perfectly okay with having James Bond be black. I'm perfectly okay with Velma being South Asian. Like, I am not married to any of... I'm perfectly fine with Ghostbusters being women.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like, I don't know why
going
people
back to
have...
first season of our show.
Seriously, because this has also been something that, for years, like, people have a really hard time with, first of all, not looking at these characters as what they are, characters, and being able to see them in different ways. Why are we so glued to the fact that these people have to be either white or black or something? Because they were written that way. Why are we, like, so scared or so angry at showing them in a different light, or like having somebody else, put their own personal take on it? It's one of the most
we're gonna get a lot
baffling
of, like,
things.
The Little Mermaid, when that one
comes
out.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God.
I mean, we saw it for the
Already.
trailer.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Unless you're like completely changing like the personality of the character, that's fine. But like, why does the skin tone, like, unless they're like, okay, if it's like the head of the Ku Klux Klan as a character, then maybe that person shouldn't be black. Because obviously it would make sense if it was white.
Right.
A person who's like in a role like that has so strongly to do with race. But like Velma, why can't we change it up? And why can't we like take these things and make fun of people for, the fact that people are flawed and people are ugly. Yet some people like Freddie are this way, and we can make fun of it and not be like a weird white thing.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't know. If they made Shaggy, what if all right, let's play hypotheticals here, right? Like, I wonder if these critiques would be the same if they made Shaggy, this version of Shaggy, a white man, and Fred, a black man. And then now, would you have the black community kind of denouncing the show for having like a kind of a negative portrayal of a black man?
That's
right?
Yeah, that is interesting. So,
because, I mean, I had mentioned this, like, right, like the I forgot what episode I talked about it, right? But the different levels of like portrayal, right? Like, first you're like not seen, then eventually just mocked. Eventually you're like then sanitized, and then finally you're like equal representation of like, which means like flawed and human and stuff. So would having this Fred like be like a rich black asshole, would that appease a lot of these criticisms, but would it just upset another marginalized group?
Probably.
Right?
Everyone's going to be upset at something.
Right. But I think that's the problem that we just are in as a culture right now. It's just like everyone is looking for a reason to be upset.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Now I
actually want to answer your question though about that.
Oh, sure, go.
I do think that I would have preferred it if it was the other way around. And let's think about it in terms of the main character of Velma. In the show, she has a crush on Fred, and Shaggy Norville really, really loves her, and she's just kind of like doesn't even view him as, you know, like anything other than a friend. Mm-hmm. And if that was a white boy who was crushing over the South Asian girl and she wouldn't even give him the time of day, I've never seen that. The girls all want the white boys.
Okay, that's fine. That
was my
fair.
biggest problem with Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right. That was like actually your biggest problem. Fine. So maybe that would and that probably would quell the common criticism of Mindy Kaling, like, oh, why do all your characters always have to like fall for white guy? But
what a role reversal that would have been.
But here's the thing, and we only seen 2 episodes, right? So we don't know for sure. But here's the thing. Let's pause it back. Having a crush on someone is not the same as having actual romantic feelings for someone. The show made it explicitly clear that like she may see Freddie as handsome, right? Mm-hmm. But like what we're seeing is just like, but she has actual feelings for Daphne, who is a female and she's Asian. So it's not like. So here's the thing. It's just like, all right. Did you watch the show? Like when you came for this critique of Mindy Kaling saying that like, you know, oh, why is she always obsessed with white men? It's just like, because I don't know. And also we just have to be honest as a society. Like a lot of the celebrities that I tend to crush after tend to be white. Why is that? Because those are the ones I mostly see in the media.
Yeah, they're jammed down our throats. Yeah,
like we're so not proliferated, but like there's more white men to objectify. You know, and it would just probably be the same mechanics at a high school. Like even though you have a diverse cast where like it's a literal rainbow of people who make up the Scooby Gang in this show, it would make sense though that like the most popular kid and the most handsome one being white, because they probably go to a predominantly white school.
Absolutely, yeah. And I actually completely lost my train of thought, but like, because everything you said was pretty well put. So
thank you. It's so rare when I get those in there. But the other thing, but actually, you brought up one good point though, which is something that you had brought up also when we covered Interview with a Vampire, which is, and this might be the only fair criticism that I think fans, like genuine fans of the show of Scooby-Doo, have. It's just like, this does not feel like Scooby-Doo. There's a lack of Scooby. There is, and I don't know, the characters just don't feel like Freddie, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy. So do you think those critiques are valid?
Yes, and those are the only critiques that any critique or any reimagining that happens, as long as you have like the core of, you know, who these people are, why we respond to them there, then like, hey, do whatever the fuck you want. But like we said, Shaggy was so unrecognizable as Shaggy as of what we've seen. Hey guys, if you're listening to this episode and all the episodes have come out and anything we say does not resonate, remember, we only watched 2 episodes. We jumped on this pretty fast.
We jumped on the bandwagon that is Velma hate.
Yeah. And hopefully maybe people will come around to it, or maybe people will just shit on this even more. But so far, Shaggy is just not who we recognize at all. It's just like completely unidentifiable personality-wise. I feel like Freddie is also kind of that, because in the original, he's the leader. You know, he's the one that, he might not be the smartest, but he's the one that guides them through. Velma is very much like herself, although she does have some edgelord qualities to her. And Daphne's also just, you know, smoking hot like she always is. So the girls are the same, but
yeah. And you know, there's gonna be mostly a girl-centric show.
Yes.
Right. Well, like
Sapphic.
they're not girl-centric. That's what I wanted. Like the main characters seem to be Daphne and Velma here. Velma, obviously, she's the title of the show, so she's gonna be our main starlet here. Yeah, I agree with you. The only, and this is maybe something that I did a deep dive. I'm just like, where's all this hate coming from? But like, someone had made a comment that I thought was interesting, and that's like, maybe the show would be more successful if it wasn't actually like Scooby-Doo, But if it was just a show where these characters can exist in their own version, they're just homages to the Scooby-Doo that we know. And one of the shows that comes to mind was Venture Brothers, right? That's an homage to Johnny Quest without being directly related to Johnny Quest. And it allows them the liberty to be risque and not offend a population group. And it would create cover for a lot of these conservatives who are like, oh my God, you're ruining the nostalgia that I feel for this show in the past of the good old days, right? Because that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
When we get very different reimaginings of shows from years past, it always comes down to, why are you pushing an agenda on my nostalgia?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, true.
You know, so like it would have just given them that cover.
I think we
But
just
then we
have to
wouldn't cover it.
This is true. I think we have to file this under yet another property that shouldn't have been a remake, reboot, or a revival. It actually would have benefited from being a standalone piece, but was too afraid to not be because, one, they probably wouldn't have gotten the viewers being an original piece because people don't like originality anymore. And also, too, its original idea was based off of like, oh, what if we can just like make Velma gay, or like reimagine Velma and give Velma the spotlight like she's never had it before, and then maybe got a little lost in the way.
Yeah. Well,
So.
I guess I wanted to ask you, because it seems like you watched both episodes, but what did you think? I mean, did you hate the show? Did you think it was terrible? Like, what were your gut feelings?
I was in the middle.
Okay.
It didn't completely win me over, but I wasn't like not enjoying myself.
Right.
But then when the second episode came and the Daphne and Velma stuff happened, I was like, okay.
Did you laugh at the joke when Daphne texted her moms in order to like get them away?
Yes.
It's just like, Mom, I want to adopt a sick cat. Where are you? Because obviously me and Eddie could not stop laughing.
I think that was the one of the scenes that we were like really laughed at.
It was. Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, but we thought of you. Obviously.
Of course, my cat was like literally here 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, Eddie, how did you feel about the show? Like, because we saw it at Comic-Con, and when we came out of Comic-Con, I think the reaction that I remember we had was just like, oh, it's interesting. But I think you and I were both like, I think this is going to get a lot of backlash, I think.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, I think I kind of enjoy it through the eyes of not looking at it as the Scooby-Doo franchise so much as these particular characters are kind of parodies of them, you know, of the Scooby Gang. And like if this was their like existing in their own universe, and so I'm a little more forgiving of the jokes. I find that the whole being meta is a little too much. It's too heavy. I mean, once in a while, I think it's cool, like sprinkle it throughout the episode. But I think every other joke is a meta joke, and I find that to be it could be like, oh, this is getting tiresome.
Yeah, it's trying to be too clever all the time.
Yeah, and it doesn't, and I feel like it doesn't need to be. Irons focus on some things too. There's a lot going on here. Too.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like Velma's panic attacks. I think her mother's disappearance, possibly murder. This serial killer. Her feelings for Daphne.
Yeah.
Novelle's feelings for her. You know, like all these combinations. The whole thing of Freddy is white and has a small penis. You know, like there's a lot going on, and I feel like, you know, just kind of like stretch it out, focus here, maybe focus on this and that.
Yeah.
And then we have Daphne the drug dealer who's she just wants to like make a lot of money so she could hire a detective to find her real parents, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's
a lot.
It's a lot going on. But there are things that I find like, oh, this is kind of cute, or like I like the Velma character. I like it has that Mindy Project feel to it, definitely, and I kind of like that better as an animated series than as a sitcom, a live action sitcom, because I feel sometimes live action sitcoms, all right, this is kind of ridiculous, like this doesn't happen in real life at all. But
So you're thinking of Mindy Kaling, the Mindy Project, or are you thinking of Never Have I Ever?
I'm thinking more of the Mindy Project. I'm actually thinking more of the Mindy Project.
Yeah, Mindy Project, like they would skew not surrealism per se, but like they would get a little over the top.
Yeah, it would be like this isn't. They had that whole episode that was a Groundhog's Day episode, and I was like, no. But when you have like this animated story, I think it could be a little more forgiving. I think it could be like, okay, yeah, I can handle a little raunchiness. I'm not too crazy about the nudity of teenagers in it. I don't want to I never want to like continue perpetuating the sexualizing underage kids. I'm not for that, no matter what form it is. Yeah, so I did find it interesting. It's funny because I had once read a book called Meddling Kids, which took the idea of the Scooby Gang of these kids and made them adults. And it's like the last case. It was like they failed to solve the last case, and it broke them up. And now as adults, they come together to solve it.
We opened the case.
And the thing is they had a dog too. Didn't talk, but they had a dog. And but it had the tropes. It had the characters.
It sounds like a Jimmy Grady book.
So
was it?
Who?
No.
That guy that you guys read, Grady.
No. Jimmy Grady? Grady Hendrix?
Grady.
That is brilliant. He got the Jimmy from Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
That's what I did, right? That's exactly what I did. Oh my god. The way my mind works.
Seriously. That sounds fun. I would actually like to read that.
I'm actually gonna do it for book club.
Oh.
It's on my book club list.
I love a good mystery. Rolando, what did you think?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with both of you. I remember when I saw the pilot at Comic-Con in October, I came out saying it's just like, I thought it was funny, and I was just like, I think some of the jokes worked. I do agree in retrospect, it's just like on the second watch, it's just like, oh yeah, some of these jokes are like in very much Mindy Kaling style. It's just like joke after joke after joke, and it does end up feeling like, on a sitcom specifically, like a show that was written to be a show. Like sometimes the way people talk isn't like how people would talk in real life.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's a fair criticism for live action. I think for a sitcom, for an animated show, you're allowed to get away with it. So, because it's a sitcom, right? It's almost like it's not, we're not watching real life.
Yeah.
So it's okay. It was a show that I think by the end I was just like, I don't know. I'm gonna probably give it like another. I'll probably keep watching a little bit of it because like I actually think the animation was wonderful in this show.
Great animation.
Yeah, absolutely. The hallucination, those sequences I think are wonderfully animated, and the coloring, you could just see like the way they play with color actually works really well. Like during those sequences, like they're able to like kind of create like light, which I don't watch. I guess I don't watch a lot of animation to like know if that's like something that's common, but like you see like almost like the green rim light suddenly come up, and then like the hands, and I think those sequences are kind of like
very well
beautiful.
Done.
Yeah. So yeah, but overall it's just like a show that's just like, all right, I'll probably keep watching this. Is it my favorite thing I've seen? No, but I think a lot of the backlash the show has been getting has been kind of just not warranted, and it's not coming from. I think it's not coming from an authentic place.
No,
like, I think the only authentic critiques I've seen of the show have been the ones that's just like, this doesn't feel like Scooby-Doo. I'm like, you know what? That's fair. I agree with you guys. But I also tend to lean towards remakes and reboots that kind of shake things up to the point where like so different that it's just like, okay, I experiment. Let me see. If you're going to give me another remake, another reboot, at least give me something
new. Make it your own, yeah.
And this kind of succeeded in that aspect, which is probably why I didn't walk out like hating it. I kind of walked out saying, like, oh, I'm kind of excited to give this a chance, and that's kind of still how I feel. I'm just like, I'm going to give this like a fair chance. I'm not going to like probably stop because we just finished new season of Rick and Morty, and I'm like looking for an adult animated series to like kind of keep watching. So
there you go. And guys, this show is by no means incompetent, which is what like a 1-star rating really should receive. This is just a show that's maybe a little too ambitious. And that might be its biggest crime, but like beautiful animation. A lot of the voice acting is really well done. It's like it's got a really good plot and a lot of things that work. Again, maybe just too ambitious. So don't believe the hate. Check it out for yourself on HBO Max and let us know what you guys think. Ways that you can let us know is by emailing us, remakesrebootsrevivals@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Instagram at Remakes Reboots Revivals, on Twitter at Remakes Podcast. You can reach out to us on Facebook. We just search for Remakes Reboots Revivals and catch us on our YouTube page. Search for Remakes Reboots Revivals. And if you enjoy this podcast, find us on Apple Podcasts. Give us a rating and a review, or to whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on. Do we still have that voice thing?
We do not.
We do not. Okay, so we canceled that. Maybe, we'll save any of...
It canceled us, technically.
Let's not let them know.
I'll let them know. I dropped the ball on that one. So, they were like, hello, like, yeah, I was money. I'm just like, what? Oh. Oops, sorry.
So maybe we might resurrect it. Who knows?
Eventually, maybe one day.
But yeah. Guys, I saw Megan before we end.
I hate you. How is it? How was it? Is it?
You didn't see my post? You didn't see my story?
I didn't.
I gave it 4 stars.
Wow,
that's big for you.
That is big for you, especially for a movie that I'm the one who like showed you how ridiculous it looks. Does it live up to? Is it camp?
That's why I loved it. It's pure, but so I compared it to RoboCop because it's like camp and entertainment, but like it's got something to say and it actually works with what it's trying to say.
The critics love this movie, and it's like one of those few movies where like for a January film where critics and fans alike are just saying like this is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
That's rare for January releases.
And
like,
I think beat out Avatar. At least
Good.
one day. So.
I'm glad the gays won. Right? Because I mean the posts that I was watching the weekend that came out like on Twitter from gay Twitter were like people posting how excited they were to see the Nicole Kidman monologue followed by Megan. You know what I mean? like and just like apparently WeHo was just packed with gays to watch Megan. So that's a movie. Maybe Eddie. Maybe we might add that to the list of things. What do you want to do for my birthday weekend? It's gonna be like maybe let's watch that.
Yeah, let's not sleep and just do all these activities.
Go see Megan. I'm so jealous of you.
Go see it, cause and my theater I went on last night on a Tuesday, and there were a few people there. So like people are still seeing this movie, and it was nice to experience it with people. So.
It's exciting. I'm more excited that like how she was just so well received by like the queer community, this character, and it's like we have like Chucky now, who's kind of a queer icon, and now we have Megan. It's just like representation everywhere. I love it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say too much, but you got to go see it, and it's getting a sequel. So they already greenlit a sequel.
Oh, but okay, that's. No, I worry.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a horror. This is the beauty of horror, also, right? Like they're cheap to make and just like, how did the costume work? Because like I think the most effective thing that I saw in the trailer was just like kind of making her look real, but like
she was performed by a child.
Was she?
Yeah.
But was she wearing a mask or something?
She was.
Yeah.
So she had like a green screen sort of mask on. But like so half of the time it's a robot. But then, like, when there's actual movements, it's most likely the girl. Amy Donald is her name. So.
She did the dances.
Yes.
Did she dance? Please tell me there's more dancing throughout the whole movie.
No.
Don't tell me anything. I will.
Like a movie go see it.
Looking forward to watching. So. Yeah.
And audience, go see it. It was great. I know we were talking about Velma, but also go see Megan. So, yeah. Until next time. Stay unoriginal.